So I'll tell you a few things here, just about some popular science books. I think we need the next raft to come through. I'm trying. So this is an artifact, Complexity. This is a book by Waldrop that appeared in '93, and it came after. It says long, none of you were born. It came came after James Gleick's book Chaos Theory, or Chaos as it was called, on chaos theory, which was just an enormous bestseller. And it was a wonderful book, and it was just a really inspirational book for many. I think many people of my era, you would read this and think, oh, so exciting. Personally, what turned out with the timing was that, of course, that book was written when the science was well developed. I mean, it was still very new, but it was well developed. This was a sort of a set of books that came after that were trying to get at these new sciences that weren't really there yet. And so this is early 90s, which was the 90s. Wow, what a time. But it's sort of pre-big data. And of course, we call big data because it's about us. This is not really pre-big data, because physicists were running around with way too much data. But computers were still getting going. The web, as we called it then, the World Wide Web, is 92. Internet's been around since 69. But this just that transition for this global connection to take off, and eventually get us Snapchat and TikTok. So, which I think are great. So, but it was inspirational as well, and it was actually handed to me by a great friend of mine. We went to college together, which in Australia is like the English thing where you live in a college and you go to the university. So I went to Trinity College at Melbourne University. That's the residential place, and it's all very funny. You wear black tie and all that sort of thing, and you wear academic gowns to dinner, and it's in Latin grace, and it's hot because it's Australia and nothing makes any sense. So, but that's okay. So, Andrew Marikoff, or Mara Boscoli, he is a brain surgeon. So, he's plays video games with people's brains, basically. But yeah, so he was the one. He said, I remember this very well. He said, "Oh, don't worry about chaos anymore. Like, read this," and it was terrific. It absolutely changed my career in life, because I thought, oh, I'm going to go to I was going to come to the U.S. I am from somewhere else, and this is what I want to work on. More about that later, perhaps. These are some other popular books, and so Neil Johnson is an old friend of ours who, I think it was called 3 Years Complexity, maybe, in England. He's English, and now is at where is he? At George Washington University. But this is the name here, Simple Complexity. So that Melanie Mitchell, who's done wonderful work for many, many years in the educational realm of complex systems, complexity. She's associated with the Santa Fe Institute, and they keep doing good things. And we have lovely connections with them, and a deeply inspirational place. So, and then I have a Gleick book here as well. So this is many years, of course, after his Chaos book. The Information, which is a wonderful book, it just roars along. One of my favorite things in that is the alphabet. The alphabet, which he describes as being contagious. Right, it was sort of invented this one time, and just went exploded. It's not entirely true, but there's so all right. Some other pieces. Beautiful book on scaling, which may be of interest to some of you. But we'll talk about scaling. That's sort of the first big thing that we develop here in the course, and just some fantastic things in this book. This is a great way of a great sort of well, I mean, it's a truth of the universe, but it's the thinking that can be associated with it is really amazing. Sort of back of the envelope calculations. I guess I have this, yeah. So Jeff Westbrook scale, no. I'll talk more about that in volume 2. So, creation of the universe. This is a little thing just to sort of throw in here, because PoCS, we're actually really interested in the whole thing, right? Why complexify? And obviously we start off from some big soup. I say obviously, but at this point we kind of understand that. And so we'll come back to that later on, but gravity is a big deal, right? Why aren't we a big soup? Well, gravity. And why isn't everything falling apart? Gravity. So that puts us all in these little balls, and when I say us, I mean little tiny bits of things, and eventually life comes out of that. So still, there's a lot for us to understand about why anything exists, of course. So, and we have some big ideas about that are quite incommensurate. So we'll see. But we've made a lot of advances, and that's part of what we'll talk about in PoCS as well. Is that we've come a long way in especially the last 100 years. But only really the last 100 years have there been really profound like solidification. So there's a reference to Freeman Dyson's article, a piece on this. Anyway, we're going to talk about George Kingsley Zipf, interesting character, who died a year after this book appeared. So he's only about 50, and I'm not sure what happened to him. I don't know too many details about his life, but yeah, very interesting. And this is a reprint. You can buy it much more cheaply. Schelling, we'll talk about some of Schelling's thinking, one of the great economists. Well, all right, I won't say anything, but yeah, Nobel Prize, and just a very clear thinker at the time. Come back to him. So Philip Ball's written wonderful things for many, many years. So he's a scientific writer, and just has book after book after book. Incredible, just an amazing producer. And so this is a bit older now, but it connects into this idea of statistical mechanics and little things creating big things. If you look at, say, Asimov's Foundation series, right? That's the idea that Asimov put into that, which was statistical mechanics, basically, right? That lots of little interacting things can give rise predictably to global behavior. It's not really, psychohistory isn't really the way it works, but it's good stuff. Just some other pieces here. Yeah, evolution, right? So evolution is the advent of games, really, right? So you have raw physics forming the balls that we live on, and chemistry and all this sort of stuff takes off. But eventually we get life, and then life becomes algorithms and games, and then we get a ratchet up through the layers of complexity. Again, giving us TikTok. Okay. So, but remarkable things, including penguins and the cat Pratchett, who's really quite a specimen. Hopefully he will be involved at points, but Okay. Just a couple of pieces here about stories, because to me, stories is the big point here. Right. So algorithms and stories, I like to sort of float around thinking about how they're really in the same game, and we'll come back to that later. I have a big section on stories. Okay, so different pieces. There's the evolution of stories themselves, then there's the evolution of people and how stories affect them, and some more in those kind of realm of textbooks, and some of these are a bit older and vary in the way they're done. The critical phenomena one by Sornet is a little bit of everything. Miller and Page, there's something wrong with the little automatic includer thing. I'll fix that up. That's coming from social scientists, so good stuff. Scott Page has written has a recent book, which I should get hold of for you. I have it on modeling and so on, so should suggest that. And then an older one here on modeling complex systems. You see the sort of networks are not really a big part of it, and of course that's a piece we'll get to later. Centers, I mentioned Santa Fe Institute sort of being the core to all of this. There are some really strong ones that have developed over time that are in universities. So there's Northeastern has the Networks Institute. We have a nice connection with them. Students of kind of gone back and forth, as well as, you know, the faculty. Are we just supplying them? Maybe we are. Okay, it's a big scam. Nico has been terrific. This is at Northwestern. Some really fantastic people there. MIT has a department, institute now for data, systems, and society, which is just like, these are all the words, right? It's pretty great. Nexi's been around for a long time. That's Yania Bayam. You know, has had staying power. Michigan, which has Mark Newman, has a complex systems center. It's sort of spread out. Data science groups are a bit of a mixture because it became this term that corporations seem to be very excited about. Everyone said, oh yes, we do data science. Yes, 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 I am a professor of data science. I just didn't mention it before. So that's, you know, that's something you've got to be careful with. So I want to say, we've organically built things over a long, long time, and it's very real here. So that's us with our Roboctopus. All right, a couple of other pieces. You know, there are many things, of course, online, following individuals on Twitter and wherever. But Complexity Digest has been around for a long time. Nautilus magazine, you know, I hope they keep going. They've published lots of interesting, beautiful things. But so there are these places to go and immerse yourself in beautiful things. Beautiful thinking about complexity.